We're not online yet, are we? No. All right, shall I start? Yeah? Now we're online. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome all the people online as well. Welcome, Wilbur, and whoever else is watching. I've titled this, Who Wants to Throw Jesus Off the Cliff? Anybody here? Well, there's a lot of people in his day that wanted to throw him off the cliff. We're doing, and I think all through his life, people wanted to throw him off the cliff. Do you think there's people that want to throw you off the cliff? Most likely, yes. There's people that want to throw me off the cliff. But anyhow, we get upset with people, don't we? We get upset with each other. And this is a part of the Red Letter series where we're up to, you remember last week, if you were here or watched it or whatever, you'd remember that Jesus got up, as was his custom, and he read from the scroll, and he read from Isaiah, and he gave that beautiful passage of talking about himself, the prophecy about himself. And I stopped it there, and it said that all the people were in awe, and they said, isn't this Joseph's son, and all that sort of stuff. But then, I said after he'd done that, after he got up, he gave his little homily, and he started talking to them. And as he started talking to them, and literally started teaching them, the end result was that they wanted to throw him off a cliff. So I hope at the end of this you don't want to throw me off the cliff, because I'm giving the same message that he gave, but with a twist on it, so that hopefully you won't want to throw me off the cliff, because they were deeply offended, but I don't think any of you will be. And it starts here. It starts at Luke 4:23-30, where it says, he said to them, you'll surely say this proverb to me, physician, heal yourself. Whatever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in your country. Then he said, surely I say to you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you truly, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the heavens were shut up to 3 years and 6 months, and there was a great famine throughout all the land. But to none of them was Elijah sent except to Zarephath in the region of Sidon, to a woman who was a widow. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elisha the prophet, and none of them was cleansed except Naaman the Syrian. So, and you've got to get, he said that to them. All those in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath. And they rose up and thrust him out of the city, and they led him to a brow of the hill on which their city was built, that they might throw him down over the cliff. Then passing through the midst of them, he went on his way. These guys were angry. And I did a lot of research on this actually, but just to let you know, what they generally did, this was the rule of throwing someone over a cliff. And this is a lot of things they shouldn't have been doing. This was a Sabbath. It shouldn't happen on the Sabbath. He's supposed to be judged and juried and then sentenced and all that sort of stuff before. But when they threw someone over the cliff, they literally threw them over the cliff, hoping that that they're not going to move after they're thrown over the cliff. Then they started throwing head-sized boulders at them, trying to kill them, to make sure they're dead. It's pretty brutal, isn't it? Like, you read this sort of stuff and you think, oh, they're going to throw him off a cliff. But yeah, not only throw him off the cliff, they would look down on him and throw head-sized boulders on him to break him into pieces and kill him. That's how angry these people were at what he said. Why? Why were there such anger? And I'll go into that, but I'll want to get a message for ourselves out of it as well. And he says to them, surely you'll quote this proverb to me, physician, heal thyself, or yourself. And you'll tell me, do here in your hometown what we've heard you did in Capernaum. So they've heard that he's doing all this stuff other places, and he's saying, surely you're gonna say to me, heal yourself. So what's that about? One way of looking at it is that later on in Jesus' life, as he was hanging on the cross, can you remember one of the things that people yelled out to him? They basically said, if you're who you say you are, deliver yourself, get yourself off the cross. And that's very valid. I think this is part of what he's saying. But also what he's saying is something quite simple that when you go back into it, physician, heal thyself. It was actually a proverb that the Jews used to use. And it was said, go heal thyself, and sometimes physician, heal thy lameness and all. But the meaning of it wasn't actually what we take it literally like that. The meaning of it was also that a man ought look at his own home, take care of himself and of those that belong to him. Like, we've got a saying like that, haven't we? What would we say to that? Take care of your own home, own house first before you start looking at anybody else and start talking to other people and all that sort of stuff and, worrying about what other people are doing. Look at your own house and do that first. So he's come back and he said, surely this is what you're going to say to me. Do here, look after this place, and do the things, all the miracles that you've done at Capernaum. In Capernaum, Jesus did these things. He healed a centurion's servant. He healed Peter's wife of a fever. Peter's wife's mother-in-law of a fever. Healed a paralyzed man. Healed a woman with that issue of blood that came to him. Healed a withered hand. Raised Jairus' daughter from the dead. So they'd heard of all this stuff, and so he comes into their place of worship, and he opens a scroll and wants to teach them, and he sort of hits them with this, surely you're going to say to me, do the stuff that you did over there. But what he's realizing is that more so than that, they need something else. They need something more than these miracles just performed in them. They're sitting in, their plans that come out every week and all this. They read through the Torah in a year. They do all that sort of stuff. They're doing all that. And Jesus is sort of, I think, in his heart's knowing, aren't all his sisters here? With us. Where did this man get all these things? They took offense at him because he's just a normal bloke. But Jesus said to them, a prophet's not without honor except in his own town and in his own home. And he didn't do any miracles there because of their lack of faith. And this is all tied up with the reason that no miracles are going to happen in this place where he is now, in his hometown, is because these people have this same attitude. Isn't this Jesus? Joseph's son? Because there's a lot of Jesuses around in his day. It's a common name. Yeshua. Isn't it Jesus? Got his brothers and that, those rat bags, Simon, Judas, Joseph. They're his brothers, his sisters. And lack of honor that Jesus was in the room, especially in this account, where they're saying, isn't this, he's just Jesus from up the road. Jesus was in the room. But people wanted something else. I thought it was fantastic, that message that Chloe had this morning over communion. Because this it hit this as well. Jesus is in the room, but people want something else. Just what Chloe said, we're never satisfied. Jesus can be in the room, but we want something else. How often is Jesus in the room? We'll say, is Jesus present with us? Yes, he is. Why would we look for something else? Yet we do. Sometimes we want an old way. Sometimes we want this way or my ways. All the believers devoted themselves to the apostles'